Welcome back to the Scrape the Planet course, my course on web scrapers and web spiders and everything in between. If you haven't watched section 1 and 2 and you're on Udemy, I would definitely recommend going back and watching those. That's just kind of, it's foundational knowledge. We talk about everything from ethics of scraper development to scraper design to what scrapers are. And you're really not going to be able to grasp this stuff to the level that you really need to if you don't watch those sections. So I would definitely recommend going back and watching those. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I will leave links either up in the corner, one of these corners, or down in the description. Definitely go back and watch those. It's very, very important. So we're going to actually dive in. I've got the glove on. We're going to do a little bit of whiteboarding, but we are actually going to write some functional code and do some really, really cool stuff with it. So don't worry, we're not going to spend too much time whiteboarding. We're going to first go over requests. Now this is very basic, and if you've done any kind of network programming or any kind of scraper development at all, this might be more of a review than anything. But it is very important, so we are going to cover it. This section we're going to be talking a lot about Yahoo Finance, so I'm going to go and use that as the example. So we're just going to abbreviate it to Yahoo. So whenever we make requests to Yahoo, we're trying to get data from Yahoo's servers. This is typically in the form of Yahoo's website, but Yahoo has APIs and stuff like that as well. We're going to be talking about web scraping with pages, so page scraping on Yahoo Finance in this section. So we're going to typically deal with two different kinds of requests. There are tons of different HTTP methods that actually dictate what kind of request that we're sending. But really there are two that you really, really need to know. That is a GET request and a POST request. So we've got GET and POST. So as the scraper, we're going to draw a little stick figure here. This is you. You are the scraper. I'm not going to abstract it away or anything. You are the scraper right here. Whenever you're making GET requests, that request typically looks like, hey, I want slash, let's say AAPL. That's Apple's ticker. So I want Apple. I want all of the data on Apple's webpage on Yahoo Finance. And that's typically going to be what a GET request looks like. It's not too much more than just a URL. So whenever you send that to Yahoo servers, it says, okay, we've got a user over here. It doesn't really care that you're a scraper. Sometimes it doesn't even detect it. And it's going to send you back the /AAPL page. And you're going to get the raw HTML of that. Since you're a scraper and you're not a web browser, you're just going to get the raw HTML code of that. Post requests are very, very similar. But when you're sending a post request, you're sending data along with it. So, hey, I want AAPL /AAPL. I want that web page. I am, and then you've got an API key. So API key. Typically, the way that you make post requests is you actually encode the data within the body of your request as like a JSON object normally. So the important difference between a GET request and a POST request is that typically with a GET request, you're not sending like a ton of data along with it. So this is typically just requests for web pages. Sometimes you'll include like different variables within the web page itself. So that's whenever you see like /AAPLs for a GET request, you'll get /AAPL, or you can get yahoo.com/quote. These are all kind of examples. It's not exactly how the website is going to work. And then ticker equals AAPL. So all of the data that you're sending in a GET request is typically going to be within the URL itself. So like you can see right here, The only data that really matters to Yahoo's server, you don't need an API key, you don't need to log in, anything like that. All of that data is right here or right here. You're not sending too much else along with it. Post requests are a little bit more powerful. Post requests are typically used to send data to the server in order to get data back. The end goal of all of this is to end up getting data back. Even if you're sending a post request, for example, to like post a tweet, you're still going to be getting a response from the server. Otherwise, you're not going to know whether or not it succeeded. So you're still going to be getting a response from the server, and that response might just be like a, hey, your tweet successfully posted or something like that. In this case, you're sending along an API key. So in this kind of like hypothetical case, you're sending along an API key. And that API key, so for a post request, you're going to get this URL. So let's just say yahoo.com/AAPL. And in the body, you're going to have some kind of JSON object. It's going to have a bunch of key 1, and then you'll have key 2, and you'll have a bunch of keys, and they'll have like a bunch of data about like, what time that you're sending it. You kind of have to construct this based on the API documentation. And then somewhere down here, you'll have the API key, and that'll be where you post your API key. And you send along that data within the body. This is actually fairly typical for APIs, and it's a little bit less typical for page scraping. You'll still see it occasionally. Typically with page scraping, at least a lot of the page scrapers that I've built, they've been mainly with these GET requests right here. You don't normally have to send along too much data. Once you've created a session, for example, so if you have to log in for a page, once you create that session, you typically don't have to send any more API keys. You might have to send like a session token within the post body. That's fairly typical, actually, like, pretty common with a lot of page scrapers. But aside from that, you're not really sending that much data along with it, and most of your requests are going to be GETs. So I'm going to call them GETs instead of GET requests and posts and things like that. So the exact same thing is going to happen here. It's going to send along essentially the same thing as a response. It just, you may have to use a post request instead of a GET request. It kind of depends on the situation. So that's GET and post requests. There are also put requests, which is like to upload files. There are also delete requests, which is to delete files. There are tons of other different methods. But in the context of scrapers, typically you're mainly going to be dealing with GET and post requests, especially GET requests. So let's just dive right into our first request. I'm going to take the glove off. I promise I'm not going to do any more whiteboarding, at least for a little while. So let's open up our favorite IDE. I am using VS Code. You guys can hate me if you would like to, but I'm going to keep using it. Let's create a new file, section3_part1.py. All right, so the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to import a library. Now, this is a non-standard library. For some reason, Python doesn't ship with requests by default. So we're going to import requests, and I typically shorten it to rec, just because request is kind of a lot to write out. Now, if you run this, I would recommend running it immediately to kind of see, if something breaks. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll just open up a terminal right here. Terminal, and we're going to do Python s3_p1.py. Everything runs fine because I have requests installed. If you don't have requests installed, you can use pip install requests, and it tells me that I've already got it. If for some reason you get an error, it's usually going to be because you don't have requests installed. I would just go ahead and try to use pip. The problem is everybody kind of has like their own weird installation of Python, so I'm not going to walk you through all of the different ways that this could possibly go wrong, because pip for some reason is like not installed in a standard way across everybody's computer. But typically you can get away with just writing pip or pip3 install requests. I have to write pip3 because I've got, I believe, like 4 or 5 different versions of Python on my machine for no reason. But we'll be doing everything in Python 3, obviously. So we've got requests installed. We're going to go ahead and do the typical boilerplate. So def main, return, and then if name equals main run main. So that's just boilerplate code. If you've written Python ever, you've probably seen this before. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be pulling data down from Yahoo Finance, and we're going to have a couple of different tickers that we're interested in. I kind of picked some at random. Very importantly, I kind of feel like this is probably one of those things that I should, say like right off the bat. Let me actually go ahead and make font a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay. So very importantly, and I feel like I do have to say this, all of the stocks that we're going to be using in like the finance side of this, I don't have holdings in them, or if I do, they're very minimal. I'm not trying to like pump these stocks up, and they're all like blue chip stocks. We're talking like Apple, GME, Google, T-Mobile, Microsoft, like blue chip stocks. So if you want to try to like make the argument that I'm trying to pump these up, I think you have a lot of faith in how much money I've got to actually invest in these, to actually move the market. Anyways, so what I typically like to do, especially for the very simple projects, is we're going to start with a main URL. Now, if we go to the Yahoo Finance page, this was when I was installing Postman earlier. If we go to the Yahoo Finance page, this is the base URL. So we're going to be working off of this URL. Obviously, there's tons and tons of data on this page. We're not really going to be getting much use out of the front page. But if we go over here to, let's start with Apple because we've already kind of used it. If we go to Apple's page, okay, so this is a page where we could see like maybe some interesting information. We've got the stock price, we've got how much it's up for the day, we've got a ton of other data down here that we might be interested in. So let's go ahead and code in this main page, and we can actually take it from the URL up here. So finance.yahoo.com, and we're going to call it base URL. So there's our base URL right there. A base URL in the context of scrapers is kind of like the URL, the part of the URL that you know is going to be the exact same every single time. So if we go back here and look, we've got Apple open right here, and we can see that Apple is part of the URL up here. That's going to be important here in a second. And one of the things that I like to test just right off the bat whenever I first start looking at the layout of the website is I'm going to see if I can take these parameters off right here. These don't look super useful to me, and typically they're really only useful for like website administrators. So let's see if I can take those off and get to the same page, and I can. So let's look at another one. I've got Microsoft. Let's look at Microsoft here. So same exact thing. We've got /quote /MSFT, and then we've got these parameters that we don't really care about, and the same thing works. So we know that our base URL is going to be finance.yahoo.com, and we can kind of see that we could probably go ahead and add /quote to that as well. So let's go back and do that. All of the web pages that we're going to be interested in are going to start with this base URL. They're going to begin with that. Now, I talked about before the importance of defining scope. And we're not going to try to scrape every single possible stock. So like there are probably thousands of stocks that we could be scraping off of this. That's quite a big scope, especially for our first scraper. Instead, let's create just a simple array of stocks that we're interested in. So let's go for Apple, let's go for Microsoft, let's go for GME, since that's the Wall Street Bets meme. Let's go for Goog, T-Mobile. Okay, so these are all of the, I believe that's T-Mobile. Is that T-Mobile? AT&T, duh, not T-Mobile. Who cares about T-Mobile? All right, so these are the stocks that we're interested in. So we've got our main URL, and we've got our tickers. So those are the tickers that we're actually interested in. Now, this is where things actually get fun. We're going to send our first request. So typically what the way a request will look is they will start with requests. I've got it shortened to rec. dot method, and then we'll throw in the URL, right? So that's typically how it's going to look. If we're writing a GET request, which is what we're going to be doing in this one, it'll be request.get, and then we'll throw the URL in there. So one of the most important things, just starting off, is to print out the status code. We're going to print out like what the website says, was the result of our request. It's not going to be anything super useful from like a gathering data perspective, but it is going to tell us whether or not our request succeeded. There are these things called status codes with requests and responses that tell you, if something went wrong, what exactly went wrong. So you've got 200, which meant it succeeded. You've got 404, which meant page not found. You've got 400, which I believe is just like a typical error code, just a generic error. And you've got 302. That's that means that you've been redirected, I believe. Probably forgot that. I'll share kind of like a cheat sheet for that in the description or kind of the notes to this section. So we're going to print out the status code. So these are status codes. We're going to print out the status code of this request. And in order to do that, we have to store the response within a variable. So I usually call that res, unless I start, working on something a little bit too complex, where I'm sending like tons and tons of requests. So we're going to call it res for right now. And we're going to print out, and I'm going to use string formatting here. All that is it gives me the ability to do this. Status code. And then within these brackets, I'm going to put res.status code. So all this is going to do is when it does print in the place between these brackets right here, it's going to put our status code. So if we run this, hopefully we will get a 200. URL is not defined. Oh, duh. Help if I put the right URL in. Base URL. So we're just going to test the base URL. We're not going to use like any particular ticker or anything like that. So we're just going to make sure that basically we can successfully connect to the site. Status code 404. So if we take this page right here, we go to our browser, we paste it. That's weird. It actually gave us a good response there. And as you can see, that is an absolute disaster, spaghetti amount of HTML. It's going to be incredibly overwhelming at first looking at this. So you're thinking there's no way that we're going to pull out useful data from this. We are, I promise. It's going to happen. Just going to take some time. We're going to walk through it a little bit slower than you might like. In our next section, we are actually going to get into how to pull data out of that with a wonderful library called Beautiful Soup. Thank you so much for sticking around. We're finally getting into the fun stuff. We're getting away from the whiteboard and into the actual code, and that's super exciting. But just know that even though this is really simple, you have successfully built your first scraper, which is awesome. Everything is going to build on top of each other. We're going to still build out stuff on Yahoo Finance in the next video, and we're going to build out some really cool stuff for IMDb later on as well. Just kind of stick to it. Let's understand that all of this is incremental, and kind of make sure that you understand even the simple code that we wrote here. Make sure that you understand everything from kind of like a foundational level. Don't just copy and paste. You're not going to learn anything that way. Like I said, thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this series so far, if you're watching it on YouTube, feel free to leave a like and a comment. That helps me out a ton. And if you want to leave some criticism, feel free. There's probably going to be some stuff that I left out, some stuff that I did wrong, and some stuff that you may not like perfectly understand. So if that's the case, leave me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or leave it in the course feedback if you're watching it on Udemy. Thank you so much. Y'all take it easy, and see you in the next video.